Time we will call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anselm. Here. Trustee Duro. Here. Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Washliger. Here. Trustee Ledke. Here. Trustee Connor.
Here.
President Vanderstel.
Here. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Doro.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody that would like to speak in public comments? The first item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve the village board minutes of the August 10th, 2020 meeting.
Awesome.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the August 10th meeting. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is consideration of a motion to approve vouchers for payments. These are in the amount of $187,104.07.
I'll move to approve the vouchers in the payment of $187,104.07.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the vouchers. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion carries. The next item we have our consideration of actions related to licenses and permits. We have operators, bartenders licenses for Brooke Petty.
Also move. A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that license.
And I just want to be clear that those were approved by the chief and Darlene, they were
Yes.
background checked?
They were.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That, abstain?
Yeah.
You got it? That carries. The next item we have are items related to proposed rezoning of the property at 415 West Capitol Drive. This is the second reading of a bill for an ordinance number 810-2020, an ordinance to amend official zoning map of the village of Hartland. As you all,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
if someone did, we don't have to do anything right now because it's a second reading. If someone did want to suspend the rules, that would be the proper protocol if we wanted to vote and just accept it tonight.
I would like to suspend the rules to waive the third reading on Bill for Ordinance 08102020 and go to vote.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. All in favor of suspending the rules? Aye. All opposed? You have that? So now we would have, we would accept a motion to accept the bill for ordinance, or the amendment to the official zoning map of the village of Hartland, 810-2020.
I'd like to make the motion to accept the ordinance to amend the official zoning map for Ordinance 08102020.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion carries. Now we will have a presentation of plans for remodeling the village boardroom and administration service counter by BSI Architectural Project Team.
Tom, could you move that a little bit so we can maybe look at it? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Chris Walgren, and I'm with BSI. I'm the Director of Architecture for BSI. I'm going to introduce my team here on the next slide, but I just wanted to thank you for inviting us tonight to present our design My name is Chris Walgren. With me, we have Brett Heikla, who's the account executive for BSI. We have Justin Gauthier, who's a senior AV designer and engineer. And we have Justin Gelhausen, who's our construction project manager. So if there's any questions at any point in the project, just please stop me and we'll have someone speak to that question. Also on the team is Alex Tim. She couldn't be here this evening, but she's our interior designer responsible for the finish and furniture selections. Okay, it's not often you get to present in the actual room that you're going to change and transform, but as luck would have it, here we are. So you guys are all very familiar with this room. I've had the benefit of sitting through another partial board meeting in this room as to try to get an idea of how you use this room, what features. When Tim and Darlene first approached us, the scope of work was smaller in nature, maybe finishes and furniture. But over the course of time, the scope has grown. Some of the driving factors were to try to create a more open presence to the community, both outward as well as inward. And hopefully our designs will reflect that. We've tried to add exterior windows to this room. Understand that the room was built very structurally sound block when you're back in the day, and that's good for a number of reasons, but it can also be a challenge to change and grow with the future as trends change. We've also taken a different look at the audio-visual equipment and the technology set up for this room to try to make it easier for meetings such as this, plan commission meetings, and we also understand at certain times there's training that goes on in here. The greatest benefit we can give you is a design that will serve a multitude of uses over the course of the room. The blue highlights the areas that we're specifically touching or changing. There's other areas on the plan that we're not proposing any work at this time. The dimensions of the room, 28 by 43, roughly 29 seats for the public, and obviously 9 seats up behind the raised counter area, just for numbers purposes. In a plan view, here's our redesign. Across the top and right corner, we are showing the 3 new exterior windows, which will let in ample daylight from the outside. As you keep working down the right hand, and I can actually point to it, we're keeping this door location, but we're proposing on changing out the doors to a more glass door and side light, again for more transparency. So we're not changing the location of the opening. We're working with the existing structural opening, which will save cost. The vestibule behind us does not change. As we start to get to this back corner where the Pepsi machine is, that goes away, and we've added some more windows. These are interior windows, again, to create that open presence, whether you're outside or in the common area looking back into the room. This back corner will now be the primary entry door. As we work around, we've punched an opening into this hallway to create, to relocate the counter area and storage. You still keep the existing second door there as a secondary means of egress. And probably the biggest change is the orientation of this room. You guys have been used to this long orientation for many years. Our proposal takes it and rotates it 90 degrees, and our raised platform area, seating 9 committee members, is along this long wall. Directly behind that is a stone feature wall on either side of 2 monitor locations higher on the wall, and you're going to see that in some elevations here real quick. The seating area is still movable and flexible, comprised on either side of the room. Also fits a podium location in the center, which is what you're used to right now. So in 3D view here, you can see how the long 9-seat raised podium, raised counter area orientates along the north wall. Behind that are the 2 TV and monitor locations. Each committee member will have a display area at their seat along with microphones, and Justin's going to speak to the specifics of the AV system here shortly. You can see the exterior windows, the new door with glass here, and then the new glass window and entry door in the back corner here from the hallway. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
What do we need windows for? We have our meetings at night. And why do we need windows in the hallway that people look in to see, oh, who's in here? What's there? What's going on? I don't understand why we need the windows. I mean, would be nice if we were meet during the day or
Okay.
it's dark.
Okay.
I mean, so I was curious why there's so many windows.
We were under the impression that there's other groups or events that use this room over the course of a normal week or month. I may not recall all of them, but
Well, staff has meetings and trainings in here.
Oh, so we need windows for 2 meetings a week.
okay.
Those are inexpensive windows, aren't they? Bulletproof?
No, no.
Okay.
It goes to trying to create a more open and visual presence to this room, connecting back to the outer public, and then vice versa, looking inward to the room too. These are section views. The 2 monitors get located on this north wall. As part of the project, most everything is going to change in this room, from the furniture, the millwork, the ceilings. To be able to place larger monitors on that wall and not have the committee members block them, we've investigated raising the center portion of the ceiling here. We have new ceilings, new LED energy efficient lighting planned in for the space. And then the public or guests of the room will sit here orientated back this direction.
So if we want to look at the screens, we have to...
Nope, nope. Each committee member, you can see just the tops of it, will have a display right in front of their station as you are right now. And we're going to talk specifically how that interfaces with the monitors. In terms of flexibility, it's ever more important these days to design as much flexibility into a room as you can. So with all the furniture being flexible and movable, you would have the ability to recreate a similar setup as you have right now. We've proposed, but rather than one large table that may be hard to relocate, what we typically see is doing it in smaller rectangular tables that hang together for a orientation like this with the podium off to one side, should you desire. Nothing is plugged into the floor. You don't have it right now, and we're not proposing that for the new layout. That allows it to stay flexible. The other use of the room, understand that could happen, is training. And with those same tables on wheels, you could orientate it in the same pose of training using the same equipment in the room. And we'll show you a picture of that furniture here.
You just got those in the chairs.
What? Your floor's yours.
Okay. Why don't you introduce Justin Gauthier to speak specifically about the AV equipment in the room.
Hi guys, my name is Justin Gauthier. I'm the Senior System Engineer for BSI. I've been with the company for a little over 3 years now. The AV division itself existed for BSI and the pro audiovisual side for about 5 years. I've been in the industry for about 20 in total, just to give you a little background. If you're okay with it, I'll give you just a basic description of some of the AV that is designed for the room, and you feel free to provide me your feedback along the way. The 2 displays that Chris were talking about, as originally were designed for 86-inch diagonal. Some nice size displays, just so everybody that's in the far side of the room can actually see and read everything, all depending upon the content that you show, whether it's Excel files, text, font. It can be difficult to read, so a larger display is beneficial when trying to capture the entire area. Now, in addition to the 2 displays, every member will have a monitor that would be in front of you as well. Now, these monitors have the ability to show the exact same content as what would be on the displays behind it, or different content altogether. Sometimes for a couple of the other municipalities I've done similar rooms for, a lot of them have been in courtrooms, so it's a little bit different. You may have some private information that you would like to see on your personal screens, but present the information to the public on the larger ones. So you would have the ability to show unique content for you and different for the attendees. In addition to the monitors, everybody will have a gooseneck mic that would be in front of them with a push-to-talk or push-to-mute capability. The system gives you quite a bit of flexibility as to what it can do. When you're unsure of how the system is going to work, it's nice to have something that is a little bit open-ended there. And to assist Ben with a number of his duties, there's extra inputs and outputs on the audio and video side for him for the various components and the gear that he has for doing it. In addition to that, I also have an actual camera system that's been designed specifically for the room. So there would be 2 ceiling mount pan, tilt, zoom, so completely controllable cameras on the fly that would be mounted to provide more of the static images. If you wanted to get an overall of the member table or even of the audience, you can easily have a preset on there where the camera will automatically spin around and focus in on exactly the views that you want. And you can have a number of presets set up. In addition to that, there will also be some inputs that will allow Ben to use the cameras that he already has. That investment is there, so there's no sense not utilizing them. We'd also outfit it with in-ceiling speakers for even audio coverage, and then 2 wireless microphones that would be utilized typically amongst, in this application, one that may be at the podium and another floater that can be handed out to the audience members for interaction. In addition to that, from what I understand, there are Zoom meetings that are utilized within here. So all of the microphones can be utilized for the Zoom meeting and be sent to the far side attendees. And also on the flip side, because there are speakers in the ceiling, you could potentially have attendees in the Zoom call actually interact with yourself as well. So there have been allotments put into the design for that. The input side of it, to allow you to share HDMI or whatever video you want, there would be 3 inputs physically installed in the table to allow various members, if they would like to present from their own personal device, whether that be a phone, tablet, PC, desktop, whatever you may be. There'll be 3 locations in the table to allow you to present as well. There'll also be an input connection at the podium to allow a presenter to bring in a laptop and or a USB thumb drive similar to the application today to provide the same functionality. All this technology is great, and I'm sure it sounds good, but if you can't control it, then it does no good. So the control side of things obviously comes into play here. That's the trickiness, to allow you to properly and quickly route audio and video however you would like it to be. So the control side would be a touch panel that would be custom developed, and I know that sounds a little bit extravagant, but the intent is for the user interface to be designed specifically for the room, for the exact use case and for the functionality that the equipment provides. So I don't want to provide a whole bunch of bells and whistles and confuse it and make it impossible for anybody to operate the room. So there would be controls provided at the table if a member would like to actually route it, and or an extra control at the countertop. Perhaps Ben would be assisting in that side as well. Every member of BSI in our AV department is CTS certified, so we are all certified technology specialists. Some of us with a special degree on the design, engineering, or installation side of things. All of us have had a number of training in pretty much every aspect that we do, so just giving you a little bit of background on BSI as well. Any questions regarding the AV side of things? And I zipped through it real fast. I do have more detailed information that I will provide to everybody that gives you an exact call out of the scope of work, and then all the ancillary parts and pieces that would be actually put together to make the system complete. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a few more slides on the boardroom. The next 2 slides talk about furniture and finishes. A lot of these are just placeholders right now. Final selections haven't just been made yet, but we carry many different lines of furniture, commercial grade. Here are some of the chairs we're proposing for the front raised counter area and finishes. Finishes on the right, a warmer, neutral, natural tone theme that we have with some punches of contrast with the millwork. Many different options out there for the stone feature wall on the front. And what's nice is with the in and out of the pattern, it creates some nice shadow reveals there. Here's some of the furniture selections again. Very common that we're seeing nowadays are the training tables. They have a flip top, so that you have to relocate them to an adjacent room. They can nest, and they don't take up that much space. The casters make it easy for staff to move in and out of the space, depending on what the use of the room is. Guest chairs, and then a podium in a complementary finish as well. So, before I go into the upper area counter, any questions on the boardroom?
Would we still be able to keep those chairs? Those are new in here.
Yes, very, very possible. If there's features of the room that you'd like to keep or integrate into the new design.
I'm just asking, because I think those are, what, a year old? About, yeah.
Sure, we're happy.
Well, they look very similar to this one in the middle, so.
I think I'm gonna, and I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'm gonna throw out for the board. They were asked to give the presentation, but just so everybody knows, I mean, we'll all end up having to, it'll go wherever it goes, but we can do nothing. We can keep anything that we want, or do nothing. They're presenting, if you guys remember, I think it was actually, I mean, it was like 7 months ago maybe, where we as a board voted, there was a amount that we voted to have them bring forward what ideas may be to update us out of, 82, 83, 84, maybe 90, depending on when this room was redone. When I think those came in 86, the paint was put in 81. That's going.
Originally,
Thank
the
you.
design was a facelift, and
Right.
we kind of looked and said, all right, if you're going to explore this option, why not show a few more things? And
Sure.
In regard to the natural light with the windows, the thought really is to have the space used more than just board meetings, potentially have it really be a face for Hartland. People will drive in, see something going on in the space with activities and whatnot during the day. You have the real estate. You can make it a really nice space for board meetings and a lot of other really good activities.
Okay. All right. Then one more space we'd like to show you, and that's the upper level administrative counter, currently shown here in plan view and photograph. Again, the area of blue is really the area that you'll notice the biggest change with our proposal. Currently, there is a overhead metal security gate that's above the ceiling that we're going to address. There's also, sign of the times, some temporary COVID screens on the counter right now, and we're looking to address that in the design to give it more of a built-in polished appearance. So
Take that picture. Yeah.
plan view here, what comes out is the one height counter, and what goes back in place are 3 stations. 2 will be standing height and 1 will be a seated height. You're gonna help me with the mic. That'll work. Thank you. So in 3D view here, you can see from the public side of the wall, that's the door, the entry door to the administrative space. That stays as is. You have the exterior windows on the right. Those stay as is too. Basically, we've got a 20-foot long counter that we're changing out the detailing inside. So the 2 standing height counters, and then the lower one on the far right. The lower one gives the ability for plans or larger drawing formats to be reviewed for maybe a longer duration. It also meets the obligations of the disability and ADA requirements. The front area here, as little work to the existing finishes we're gonna try to maintain the existing floor, the existing base, and we'll paint that new wall to blend it in with what's existing there. So not a big change in finishes on the outside. No changes to the ceiling or the lighting up above. But you will see 3 new counters that we are proposing solid surface for a more durable longevity material lasting. We are proposing 3 areas, or each opening will have fixed glass in it, slightly raised off the counter to allow for transactions, and then not going all the way up to allow airflow to move back and forth. It's our hope that this would meet the needs of the current COVID situation, and then also allow that coiling metal gate that's above the ceiling to be removed and discarded. So this design would serve both the COVID requirements currently as well as after-hour security needs. So top right is what's public would see as they're standing there waiting to be the next in line. Bottom right is from the staff side. Again, 2 standing on the right, 1 lower on the left. We've outfitted that with storage and drawers on the staff side. Certainly the lower height would come with chairs. There are higher stools that we can provide for the higher counters if desired. But we would provide all the necessary power and data connections for computers to be located there as well. On the left-hand side, ample space for the existing copier scanner equipment, and then some new cabinets underneath the existing windows there. Any questions on the upper level design?
So I like the look of the upper level. I mean, I think that's more of what the people that come in, that's our more user area that they see more of and should be friendly and make it more welcoming to them. Something I didn't see when I looked through here was, and we talked about when we were doing the building, of doing more signage, making it all ADA compliant. So when I saw the lower seating, I was happy to see that part.
Sure.
Making that, but the signs are all over, they're all mismatched throughout the building, and I mean, I think a more uniform and kind of pulling what we have together, I would rather see than windows and all of that.
Okay. We could certainly go in that direction if that's unanimous consent. I think we do have some signage factored in the lower level budget, but maybe not a full building wayfinding room by room is what you described. But we do have the resources for that if that's how you'd like to go.
Yeah, if you look by like the bathroom doors, the signs are on the door. They're not supposed to be on the door for the braille purpose. It's not supposed to be on a moving, so it should be to the opening side of the door, and nothing's labeled like that in this building.
Okay. That's good feedback. Thank you.
So for the upper level, there's no new paint or carpet or ceiling, it's just,
There are new finishes where we're affecting the walls or surfaces that need new finishes. So we're not recarpeting the entire administrative area, just because our work is really isolated to that existing counter area.
okay,
But any new walls that we put in there, and there will be some new walls down below the counters, that'll be painted and base will be patched in as close as possible without having to do the entire room.
okay,
The only ceiling work would be just enough to get that metal coiling gate out and then patch it back. We're not touching any lights or any of the ceilings up there.
okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the lower area, so going backwards to the lower area, it's a lot of change, and this,
Yep.
even from aesthetics and look and how we enter. Has there been any conversations at all with our police department and making sure that they are comfortable with adding all the windows and the different doors and access in and out of the room? I don't know who my
Yeah,
question to.
so we've talked to each department head about the change. This is the EEOC for the PD. Obviously, if we have an incident in town, we probably wouldn't use this as, like any community, you do it away from the incident. But that's what some of the storage is, that would be against that wall over there would be where they keep their current EEOC stuff now, which is in these cabinets, so.
Okay. And then I have to ask, it's probably just because someone is wondering, I know I am, when this board is in closed session and there's windows, what was thought about with that?
Yeah, so I've been in communities with boardrooms with windows in closed session, and you close the door and you have your meeting, and it's never been an issue. It's never been like anybody standing outside the glass, like
Okay.
prying in. We can look at shades. I can say that a community I was in, we purchased and spent a lot of money on shades, and the whole time I was there, we never lowered them. So,
Okay.
because we had that same thought, you're going to go into closed session and you don't want people knowing what you're discussing. But the reality is, if we were to do that, there would be some glass leading to that hallway, but if nobody is out there, staring in, they wouldn't be able to see what's going on, so. But a fair concern. I think the glass, so kind of to take a step back, and this is exactly what we were hoping for tonight, throw a lot of information about the remodel. Is it all right if I lower this for a second? I'm having trouble breathing. So it's a lot of information. It's a big, it's kind of two different items. It's upstairs and here. This room obviously took on a little bigger scope, and maybe that's too big a scope, and that's okay. We're trying to address some of the things that I think are lacking. We all agree this room is in trouble. Whether we just do a paint and a finish is an option. We took kind of a aggressive approach. I think the room yields itself to flipping based on some of the conversations we had and adding some more windows. We do have a lot of different committee meetings. I agree. We're not just adding the windows for our meetings, although it's, 4 months of the year, it's light during our meetings. There's park meetings, there's plan commission, there's different committees that meet. And then there are different activities, the police department and other departments have training and different activities in here. And so it's certainly, it's meant for all of those, not just one. And I think it's like a lot of municipal buildings, it's built like a tank. It's built to last, which is great, but now it's, 40 years later, and, it's time to take a look at it. So if we went too far, apologize. You identify what you need and you come up with a plan. I think Ben was a great resource on the AV side. The AV side comes with a price tag, but again, we haven't, some of the ailments of this room with a big meeting, we ran into. We don't have amplification. We don't have the ability to send that sound other places. Those are some of the things that we've identified. Then they've punched it up a great level to be able to interact more as more and more groups come in with their thumb drives and with their information. It would be, that those resources would be good. Right now, we make do and it works. It's a little cumbersome, but it happens. I think the Zoom, I think the COVID chased the reality that more and more people who want to participate in these meetings and or board members may need to do it remotely. And so that making all that integrate, as you can see from Ben's counter, that would be nice to just be all in the wall where he could plug into instead of having to do all of that every time we meet. And so, again, we make it work. Ben makes it work. But over the years, if the walls had cavities in them, those would have been put in the walls, and he would be plugging things in instead of wheeling everything around. So we're a little bit trying to catch up, and trying to catch up costs money. So I really see it as two projects. The good news is we almost everything upstairs in the remodel would be COVID eligible, so we would be able to get reimbursed for that project. A lot of the items down here might be COVID related. I don't think the whole project, but certainly part of it, and so that would be a funding source. I guess our biggest question to the group, and again, I kind of cut off the questions, and please get back to the questions. The team is here that put this together and did a great job. But one, looking for some direction upstairs, and then looking for some direction down here. If we went too far, scale us back. Let the team know what you guys want to see, and they'll be happy to work on that. If you want to see how the possibilities of paying for the project down here, be happy, Ryan and I spent a little bit of time putting some different options together, but we think there are some avenues to do that and try to make that work. So if you want to see the funding side of it next, great, we can work on that. If you want to let it marinate for a meeting and let all this kind of soak in and see where you want to go, that's fine too. We knew this would be a little overwhelming. It's the pictures were in, but the pictures don't do some of the justice as the 3D rendering, and it's a lot to take in. So not looking for anybody to bang the gavel tonight and say, this is 100% what we want, let's do it. But we are looking definitely for some direction on the two items, the upstairs and the downstairs. So with that, I'll be quiet again. And
What is the timing on the upper and the lower, say from start to finish, roughly? If this was okayed as is, I'm just curious as to how long it would take.
Yeah, we'll go to the upstairs first. One of the things we talked about with the upstairs was just the finishes of the countertops and cabinets and things like that. In order to speed up the timeline of construction for you guys, we think we can get it down to the maybe 2-week duration for this area. One of the concessions we'd have to make is ordering the materials ahead of time. So normally you would get the countertops and things like that, you would order to size, so there'd be a little bit more downtime. We would try to to expedite that and get those countertops made to a specific size and build to them. That way we could get all the materials on hand and be able to install them once everything was assembled. That way there would be the least amount of downtime for any of the public to use the space. So for upstairs, we're thinking the 2, maybe 3 week on the longest side. As for the downstairs, there's some factors that have to do with the scope, but for right now with the scope we've proposed, we're thinking about a 3-month duration from start to finish. Basically, a lot of the longer lead time items we could order up front. They're going to be, a lot of things are going to be cut to size or made to size during construction anyway. So we wouldn't have too many items that would hold us back from starting or from finishing on time. So I believe a 3-month duration for downstairs is realistic and close to a 2 to 3 week on the longest for upstairs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
For the items on the counters, including upstairs, and I'm also asking about downstairs, but will there be plugins for people, for instance, like right now, we go off of one outlet that's behind me. Each one of those stations, will they have, even though they have the screen in front of them, we all have, if someone brings in a laptop, can they plug in? Will there be outlets or somewhere upstairs? Will some of those amenities, like you'll see on a library table, it's there.
Yeah. I mean, I assume you're talking about electrical outlets or AV inputs. Yeah, every single monitor location, well, actually below the table, we're planning on having a dedicated outlet. Will probably be a quad outlet, because we'll have a number of AV devices that will also be located under there. So it will be a combination of us using some, but then everybody will have at least a duplex open to them as well. And it should be, I'm not sure on the second floor, but it should be the exact same scenario for that location as well.
And regarding things that we already have, and I'm just going to throw 2 in that are just here that maybe someone would bring up. Let's say we have 2 TVs here.
Sure.
That we already own. If we wanted to say, no, don't bring in a new 86-inch, we'll just go with these 2. Can you make it work to that size? And like Trustee Walschlager said, we want to keep these chairs because we just bought them. Obviously, that would help not only reduce our price if we went forward, but you can bring all those things together and still make it look appealing.
Absolutely. There's no issue on the AV side of things. Ultimately, the displays, we control them in a very particular manner, so we'd want to make sure that they were commercial displays. Mm-hmm. I'm more than happy to take a look at the ones you have and see if they would fit the bill. And I'm happy to reuse as much as you possibly can. I already kind of went through Ben's stash a little bit in the back and seeing his gear. No offense, Ben. You know, but I want to utilize as much as your existing equipment as I can. I understand the cost side of things, and if there's anything that can be utilized, we'll take every advantage of doing that. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
So I personally would like to see what the cost, what it would look like without adding windows, and to have that out of the scope, but then put the signage in the scope and see what that would look like.
Did you, I might have missed it because I was paying so much close attention, but what about the lighting on the, is this all gonna change, the lighting changes? And, okay, like, so what kind of lighting, I mean, like, all LED lighting or?
Everything we do these days is LED lighting, from lay-in fixtures such as this, 2x4, 2x2, it's all LED. There's many different shapes, sizes, designs out there. Any type of accent lighting, to the recessed down lights or the can lights, that's still all LED lighting. It's energy efficient, easily dimmable. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine.
I agree with Donna about getting the price breakdown between having the windows and not having the windows. I was
Sure.
in the construction trades for 30 years, and the windows are a big expense, especially to cut in through the block and the headers and the engineering that goes into it, and
That's correct.
it's probably 3/4 the expense of remodel.
This is probably a question for Administrator Rhodey, and I don't know, I just thought of it off the top of my head. Are there grants available through the state that we can apply for if we continue to try to find ways to have this building be more and more energy efficient?
We can work on with Focus on Energy for this building. Otherwise, I'm not aware of anything for like village boardrooms or conference rooms. We can certainly start looking, and
It came to
Yeah.
me in live time, so I don't.
the COVID grants are big now.
Sure.
And that would be anything that can interact more with communicating with the public is big right now.
And are we sure that we're hitting all of our marks for responding to the public for the lower area in response to COVID? We've got chairs pretty close together, and we're looking at putting more people in a room. I know we thought about that when we went through it. It was March, I think, is what we had said, but we're in a different time now, so.
With all the furniture being flexible,
Okay.
you could space that to whatever the 6-foot spacing is in effect at the time.
Okay. It's a nice project.
It's the one thing we can't do is make this room bigger.
I know.
Yeah.
How much
We
more
could, but
seating
it'd
do you
get
think
expensive.
How much more seating will we have there when, I like the idea of going long ways like that, it makes a lot of sense. How much more seating, did you figure out how many more seats you're gonna have, or?
I
what
think
kind of
just
seating?
on the first slide by count, assuming public can sit in these chairs too, I think there's 29 total in the room right now.
6 seats for public, it says.
And then with the new layout, we were right around 36, so 2 pods of 18. Wanting to try to get as close to your existing numbers as possible.
Yeah, I like that idea going long way, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Do you often have full or over full capacity in these meetings that you need more than the 29, or?
Well, we don't want them.
I think it depends on the topic of the meeting, right?
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but having the ability to offer more space is always something nice.
Sure.
Or to the point of being able to be flexible with the space that we have. So I like that option
And
as well.
I think you're fortunate with some rooms across the hall that if space works out, to be able to, the chairs are all stackable. So for easy access, to add a few more chairs in the meeting.
And like I said, it's not just board meetings, there's other meetings with the police department or whatnot, other organizations, so it would make more sense to have flexibility.
It's back here.
would you guys want to go and, I don't know if it's part of, I'm hoping it's part of what we kind of contracted with you. Would you be able to get some of the lesser plans and come back so that there's the Cadillac and then there's some of those, more mid-range, and then even if it's without the windows on some of the things that have been brought up so that we can look at a few different ideas? Would that be?
We're happy to work with you, Darlene, and yourself to get the plan and the numbers to a point that you're satisfied with it.
Okay.
I think on the AV side, I don't think we should cut that at all.
I don't either.
I think that's very
No,
important.
It's huge, because
is
it's gonna be
everything.
outdated in 3 years anyways, after we're done with it. I mean, it is.
Future-proofing you a little better.
4 years.
Hopefully, it'll be adaptable enough now, after we get done doing it, that it can adapt to future changes, where now we can't.
Correct.
So that's huge, that's important.
That's where I'd like to see the money on
Right.
that kind of stuff than windows.
And I agree with the way the room's gonna set up the long way. I think that's gonna be more user-friendly and easier to rearrange, and it'll look nicer and be more appealing to people coming in. Yeah, the windows are just a huge expense. I mean, I don't mind a few, but I'd like to see the cost difference, and I kind of know in my head what the cost difference is gonna be, but it's gonna be big. And I do want to make it more friendly, more user-friendly to people if they, we want the community to be in the room.
Approachable.
We really do. We want Hartland to be in here with us. It's their town.
I agree, and that's one thing
So-
that's really tough, because windows are, it just is the nature of the beast. They're extremely expensive, but finding a way
Yeah.
to, obviously, it'd be awesome if we had what was drawn, but it's costs a lot
Right.
too. But being able to have, every kid that goes to the library and every kid that walks by someday when they're in adulthood, when someone says, hey, there's a village board meeting at 20 years old or 22, or if you're odd like me at 36 or 38 coming to the first time you had to come, it's like, where is that place anyways? Because you don't know if you just go up to pay your water bill. But it's a heck of an expense
Yeah,
too.
it's
And there is a
tough
lot,
balance
like Trustee
between-
Doral said, there's a lot that has to be updated throughout this building. This boardroom is not the only thing that still is locked in 1988, so.
Yeah, I
Does
think you
this,
guys nailed the upstairs.
yeah,
That's great.
does this drawing move that wall back at all?
No, we're working within the 4
Okay.
perimeter walls.
It does add some height to the ceiling.
Ceiling in the center area raises up to help accommodate the
Okay.
2 screens going on the wall behind. And let me, the one space where we are modifying the perimeter wall is on this back wall, to be able to get the cabinets within the room, but hanging on the side of the room rather than projecting into the room.
Is that wall structural?
To the best of our analysis, this is the load-bearing
Yeah.
wall
Okay,
here.
that's what I figured,
Yes.
and this is, but that's not.
Yep.
Exterior.
So
So that's
we're-
an easier change.
We're trying to work with the structure of the building as much as possible.
And above us, with the drop ceiling, there's probably, what, another 2 feet that we can use?
Probably less than that, maybe 18
18.
inches right now.
Okay.
But with going with the LED lighting.
That's a
it's-
huge difference, just raising it up
Yeah.
another foot.
Yep.
Yeah.
It
There's
makes it-
ductwork on each end that's limiting us taking the whole ceiling up.
Okay.
So, as is the case in renovations, there's stuff behind the ceilings, behind the walls that would, it just adds more cost exponentially to change everything, so.
I think that it's also, I think it is important as we grow as a village and as we come into, using YouTube. Now, anytime someone wants to, they can go on a YouTube station, they can see what this looks like, where even 10 years ago, all you did is read the minutes. You didn't see it where it is. We are more out in front, and I think that this room also is a representation of the village and who we are. I'm a firm believer sometimes that, you don't want to over-present, but at the same time, you do want to present in a way that it reflects the quality and the people and who you are as a village. So one thing that if you guys were to come back, that you could try to bring into the project are some of the historical pieces, but that aren't, you know, faded, like you see the pictures on the wall, or one of them I even believe must have gotten wet or humid because it's wrinkled. But if you can bring some of that in,
Yeah.
you know, to that, to integrate our history as we move forward into the future with this room and the work we're doing here would be great. But I think I would like to see a motion that you guys come back in 1 month and take into account what the trustees have said, and myself, and come back, if you would, and present again. And then we'll see
Sure.
if there's something that we can do, or kind of where we want to go. It also gives the trustees time to be able to reach out to not only you guys, but also talk with Darlene, Tim, and,
Yep.
you know, work on those things if you guys are up for that. But I'd make a motion to ask that you come back and present with those other options after having heard what the board has had to say. In a
For
month.
both the upstairs and the downstairs, or just the downstairs?
Well, if no one makes a motion for anything, I would say both, but if a motion gets made for the upstairs, then just the downstairs. The upstairs is gonna be covered by money that's allotted for COVID, so that's with our state of emergency.
I
That's
know it's kind
different.
of a hassle, guys, because I used to do all my own bidding too, and when people used to ask me to break things up, I used to want to kill them. But with that said, again, what we were talking about, making it more user-friendly and more inviting for Hartland, the people of Hartland to come in and know the room. I would like a couple of windows, if not all of them, but after I heard, you know, from Tim, and I was kind of against the windows at first completely because of the craziness of society right now. And, you know, who'd to say somebody wouldn't try to throw something through a window while we're in here or whatever, but we have to remember too, we live in Hartland. And that won't, but we've had incidents, so I have to worry about the safety of everybody in this room. And the windows are a safety issue at that point, unless we were to put in windows that were more safety efficient, I guess. But if we could break down the windows to maybe just some windows there and the rest gone, or the hallway, or, you know, and I know it's a hassle and it's not fun to break it up like that, but that would help.
Going off of like what Jeff says, you can just use the current holes. You know, if they redo it and just put glass doors in those doors, and if they wanted to make this a glass door
Glass
with a
door.
window on the side of it.
Right.
Now you know how expensive it is to
Yeah.
cut holes in the walls, so, with that coming up, I'll amend the motion to ask them to come back in a month, but to amend the motion, or I'm changing my motion to say, my motion is to accept upstairs, the upstairs alterations, and to have them come back in a month to show us what else they've come up with after the trustees, taking all of what the trustees have said into account and showing us on downstairs.
Sure.
That would be the motion if it gets.
But you're not approving the upstairs, you're just
Nope.
accepting the plans that they've given us.
Yep,
You
so-
haven't approved it.
Correct.
So we'll have to work with them to bid it and go through the process, but if this isn't what you wanted, or if you wanted to see something different, now is the time they have to know that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the upstairs plan is tracking well. So we'll move forward with the upstairs plan, we'll work on how to get that going and get it out to the bidding world. And then come back in a month, it sounds like you want, the marching orders are come back in a month, help break out a little bit of those costs so that you can see them, and then redesign those windows? Is that,
And the signage.
Yeah, definitely the signage. I think Donna is absolutely right about the signage.
Throughout the whole facility.
Throughout the whole building, yes. Because when you come in the building, you have no idea where anything is. And people are constantly asking, where's this, where's the boardroom, where's the police department, where's,
Just what's
yeah.
on the record.
So they
And
need
this goes all the
direction.
way onto the community center,
Yes,
connects, right?
yep.
I'd also like to see from our staff, Administrator Rhodey, you talked about you and Ryan, could talk to us a little bit about the financials a little bit more in depth. So I'd like to see that as well alongside this and where that would be coming from.
And I just have a question. Would it change if we went forward with the upstairs pricing and come back for this one? doing that in two separate stages, is that gonna increase the pricing? Because I know sometimes when you buy,
Yeah.
You figured it is.
Yeah, really what we did is we figured it, the work is gonna be, separate scopes of work, we'll say, an upstairs and a downstairs. Our idea was that we would kind of treat it as such, knowing that, down here would be, used a little bit less or more sporadically than upstairs. That gets used on a daily basis. So we figured this as being its own separate project, and we would work to, fit it in where it would cause the least amount of downtime or the least amount of issues with it being used. So I have all that kind of built in. It's not going to affect the price either way. What I did for you guys is I broke out. I have an upstairs price and a downstairs price, so at least you can see, what the difference is. And for right now, it is still a budget because, there's finishes to be selected and things like that. So the price is going to move a little bit, just basically just depending on finishes and the selections at that point.
thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. It was nicely put together.
Thank you. Thank you.
My only thing is like breakdown. I'm a numbers guy, so I'd like to see a little bit, I know Jeff's right, it's a pain, but a few more breakdown prices, just like that. We decided, okay, these chairs are new, but what was the cost for those 36 chairs, or what's the cost for these chairs here, just to see a little bit more where we're at with different individual things.
Sure.
In taking in, I just want to make sure that this point is across. In taking into account what Mike, trustee Myers stated, the Village of Hartland contracted with them to come up with the designs. Obviously, they would love the work, but this will still go through a bidding. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Understood.
So if someone wanted to make a motion, they could. It's been a little time since mine. If someone did want to make some type of a motion, the first motion would kind of die for lack of a second, but if someone wanted to make a motion, they could, because I can't make the same motion twice.
Trying to think how to put it. I'd like to make a motion to have them come back to another board meeting
In a month.
in a month, with the breakdown in pricing that we'd like on windows, chairs, furnishings, with and without, a couple different plans on the windows if possible. The upstairs is to our liking right now. And that, what else do you want me to add to it? I think
That staff brings us the.
That staff brings us
the
the
budget.
breakdown. Right.
Payment
of
that we had
the-
asked for.
Right.
And just
of
take
the
into
money.
account with all the comments that they've heard here. They're writing them down, so take that, including the building.
Including
There's
the
other
building.
things outside of just like
Signage
this
and
room.
everything.
So, and I'm sure Darlene did a fantastic job putting that in the
Yep.
minutes, so we're ready to rock
It
and
made it
roll.
sound good because I didn't.
I'll second all of that.
It's been moved and seconded that not only will this BSI be coming back in regarding the downstairs and other parts of the entire facility, including signage and other things that they may find.
Yes.
Also taking in all the comments that the trustees have made and things that they want to see when you guys come back in approximately 1 month. It'll be the second meeting next year. And that basically it's moving forward with upstairs, with maybe some alterations, but for the most part, it's moving forward as seen here. And, yeah, it's been moved and seconded for that motion. I think the motioner and the secondee feel comfortable with that. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank
very
you,
much,
guys. If it's acceptable to the board, I would request a 5-minute recess.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. We will be in recess.
What happens if they said no?
Then I got a bag. For now, I appreciate everybody allowing me to have a recess. Now we have items referred from the August 17th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. Consideration of a motion to approve extraterritorial certified survey map in the town of Delafield. If the Administrator Rhodey wants to touch on these, a lot of times we know how these
Yep,
go.
very straightforward. This is in Pewaukee, so this one's pretty much out of our zone of interest. This is actually a situation where it's two lots becoming one, so we're much less concerned when it goes that direction. We're more concerned when it gets divided than when it gets combined. So no, staff has no concerns and is fine with this moving forward.
There is an attorney on the line representing this item. Hi, this is Matthew Fernald. I represent Pat and Gina Dillig.
I can't hear.
Work with attorney Catherine Gudenkunst. She's the attorney in our office who submitted the application back on July 15th. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Does anybody have any questions? No questions.
I'll make a motion that we approve the certified survey map for the town of Belfield.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the extraterritorial certified survey map in the town of Delafield. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And Mrs. Gutenkunst.
Yes, I'll thank her on your behalf. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right, the next item we have is a consideration of a motion to approve plans for construction of units 35 through 40 and units 43 through 44 in the Bristol Cone Pine condominiums and to approve amendment number 17 of the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions of the Bristol Cone Pines. Sir?
Happy to be back. Can't wait for my new seating assignment. I'm Brian Lindgren, Newman Developments. So what we're kind of here to seeking your approval is the Bristol Cone Pines neighborhood was originally planned in the 90s. Back when the PUD was approved at that time, there were 44 condominium units approved. 32 were only built. So there's statutes in place that says after a certain amount of time, we can't just go back in there and build them. We have to kind of re-establish approvals with the condominium association. So that's what we started that process several months ago, working with the existing condo owners. We're very appreciative of their help in the matter. We couldn't have got here without them. They expressed an interest of having the new units part of their association. We felt that that was probably the best way to go. Ultimately, they'll have oversight of the maintenance and the neighborhood and keeping it looking good like it is today. So working with them, we have since gotten approval of all of the, not all of the owners. We need 76% of the owners to approve, 51% of the mortgage holders. We've surpassed both of those numbers. So we were able to get the amendment done to bring the new units into the association. Along with that, there were two additional steps that while we're here talking to the Plan Commission and on the board. There was the duplex ranch product that was built there no longer had rights to build, so we redesigned, worked with the owners and the Bristol Cone HOA to get approvals on the new design. The materials will match the existing duplexes that are there, stone, roof material, general look of the new design is designed to match and has been approved by the Bristol Cone condo owners and the HOA. Slight changes to the exterior materials because that's they currently have cedar siding on the exterior, so we're going to put LP siding or James Hardy siding on the new product. That's a much longer lasting product, and it really should benefit the owners. So part of this our approval here is for the plans, and the second part of that is at the end of East Sweetbriar Lane. There was an open lot, an outlot that was left really for the use of the golf course owner. They've been kind of dumping yard waste and such there for several years. The golf course owner decided they wanted to sell that along with the vacant building pads. So in the original PUD agreement, or I'm sorry, the HOA documents. It said that if the use of that Outlot 5 were ever to change, the approval needed to be given by the golf course owner and the board. It did not require approval of the owners to change the use of that outlot. So that's supporting stuff is in here. So that's our second ask here, is that we allow for the change of that outlot to house a couple of these condo units so we can place them appropriately and really finish off the PUD as it was designed and get to the 44 units. So,
Are you? My question about this is because we used to own a condo on that street. Are you building these as spec homes, or are you waiting until somebody actually wants to personalize it and?
A
Are you just
combination.
gonna-
It'll actually be our partner builder, Hartland, who is going to be building the
Okay.
homes. They started the first 2 units, because there actually were 2 units that were originally platted and never built.
Okay.
So that was the older design, the 2-story design. So they
Yeah.
did start that, and they did actually start those on spec, so those are for sale if you know anybody's looking. The additional duplex plans, they'll probably do a combination of, because now we're kind of wrapping up, hopefully, getting the approvals to really be able to market them in a stronger manner. So I anticipate it'll be a mix.
I
I
like
can't
these
tell you exactly
branches.
what it'll be, but, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question. What is it the village's right to approve the declaration of the covenants, the conditions and the restrictions of the property owners? Why does the village have anything to say about that? We don't have anything to say about that, so we're really not approving what they want to do. We're approving the building of the stuff. So when I read this, it says approve declaration of the covenants, which we don't do that. The conditions and restrictions of the owners.
The
Why are we doing that?
The amendment is part of becomes the declaration of the covenants. Amendment 17, which is the legal document in there, becomes part of the declaration of the covenants.
So what right do we have to say what their declaration says?
Because
That's a
in
property owner.
there when it was written, it said if any land should ever change hands, it needs certain approval by certain bodies, and the village board was named as one of them. Back in 2004, there were tennis courts that were owned by an individual, and he wanted to give them to the association, and the same thing happened again, where there had to be, it came to the village to approve that it was going from an individual to the association. I don't know why it was written in there, but it's written in there.
Okay, so that just didn't make sense to me, because it's so contrary to what we've ever done to tell people that are condos or covenants, you gotta have this. State laws pretty well says what has to be written in there, and that's what I was concerned with, so thanks
Yeah,
for
this one was
clarifying that.
interesting
So
digging through all the
when you wrote that
documents.
up originally, you put that in there just to confuse us.
Oh, I can't take credit for that one. I do appreciate their forethought on it, because it makes it easier to change the use of it and not having to go to 280 owners of single-family homes.
At the same time, and to your point, Mike, at that time, it's my understanding that the village did, obviously, a lot of laws have changed, but the village did used to, they erred on the side of over-restriction to make sure that they, not only the village board, but also the plan commission, basically had the full say on anything, so they would put backstops in there. For instance, if you never do anything with this for 10 years, you gotta come back, what we already approved, you can't necessarily do. They literally put wording in there like that. Now, you are correct, with law changes, we no longer would put that wording in necessarily, but I think the developer and the owners in Bristol Cone, they're trying to make sure that they have all of their bases covered, even if technically they could come and tell us sand. We don't care if you approve that.
One other small item of note, at the Plan Commission, one of the Plan Commission members did make a recommendation that the village look into some kind of bike trail from the cul-de-sac to Merton Avenue. We did have the village engineer look into that, and he assessed 4 or 5 different reasons why that wouldn't be safe or be functional, but it was something that the Plan Commission did want us to look into before it came to the full board for review. We did do the due diligence, and that's not the recommendations.
I make a motion that we approve the construction of units 35 to 40, unit 30, 43 to 44 in the Bristol Cone Pine condominiums.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the construction of units 35 through 40 and 43 through 44 in the Bristol Cone Pine condominiums and to, I believe,
Approve amendment 17. So-
Do you want two motions?
did you want two motions?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
I
Okay.
did, yes.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded to approve plans for construction of units 35 through 40 and units 43 through 44 in the Bristol Cone Pine condominiums. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried.
Can we do the second part?
That's what I'm waiting for.
Well, I thought he was.
It's not on me. I asked. I said, did you want two?
Yep, go ahead.
I'll approve Amendment 17 of Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions of the Bristol Pines Cone, or Bristol Cone Pines, duh.
I
As
second.
stated.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Amendment 17 in the Declaration of Covenants, Condition, and Restrictions of the Bristol Cone Pines. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you.
See you next one.
Hang around for a second.
The next item we have is consideration of a motion to approve Resolution Number 8, 2020, a resolution pledging that the Village Board of the Village of Hartland will expend funds necessary for the Hartland Public Library to exempt the village from the Waukesha County Library levy.
So, since we meet the county standards, if the board will give us at least the minimum appropriation of $348,681, then we would also receive more than $250,000 from the county, and the village residents would not be taxed again for library services. Questions?
Is that a percentage that the county comes up with of our total budget, or is that just an arbitrary number that they come up with?
There is an equation that they use to come up with the number. If we didn't do this,
Right, no, I just want to know.
Okay, yeah, they have an
They give
equation.
us the percentage of our total budget that we have to give.
they figure it out based on our residents.
Okay.
I believe so. And because towns have to pay a library
Right.
extra tax, we will not be paying that tax because the appropriate amount of tax money will go to the
Yeah, I
library.
thought the county gave us the total we have to pay.
But they do, there's a minimum. You can go over. Am I correct on that?
It would be good to just hit the minimum, President.
I agree with
But the
that.
library director
The-
probably would not appreciate that.
No, I would not appreciate that. In all honesty, it would be really hard for us to meet the county standards at this minimum price. But, yeah.
The village of Hartland has spent is the wrong word. The village of Hartland Library's budget is larger than this county minimum. And so that is not a challenge for the village of Hartland.
I agree. I more so, the point I was saying, and I think Mike's question was, yeah, there's a minimum that they come up with an equation, and that's what this is about right now.
And if we don't budget the minimum for the village
Then we would have to pay the library tax.
Then we would have to kick in and lose
Yep.
our funding, so.
Correct.
Which is not a number that we're in jeopardy
Right.
Right.
of hitting.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 08242020, a resolution pledging that the Village Board of the Village of Hartland will expend funds necessary for the Hartland Public Library to exempt the village from the Waukesha County Library levy.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 824-2020, the resolution as was just stated in the motion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is discussion and consideration of conceptual site plan and building plans for Prairie Wind Townhomes on East Imperial Drive.
Hello, I'm Randy Hetwer from TDI Associates, and we're here today because Rebecca Sprague has a development that she wants to finish. It was originally started in the mid-70s, and there's 3 remaining buildings left on that parcel to be finished off. And we're proposing to finish off the buildings with the same architectural style. We want the buildings to reflect what was there already and not have any conflict with her existing property and the surrounding neighbors. So we're here to discuss to see if the board would approve something like that and get their opinions on this project before we move forward. I believe there are some site plans we have.
Typically, and what you were alluding to, typically if we were even thinking about it, it would go to Plan Commission. This has not been to Plan Commission. This is more so conceptual to see if the board wants to
Right, yeah. So
send.
we want
Yep.
to see if it makes sense for us to continue on this path,
Yep.
basically.
Correct. Conceptual review.
Yes, yep.
That was a good question, though. It has not been to Plan Commission. Anyone can.
I'll make a motion to approve the
To send it to Plan,
To send it to
send it to Plan Commission.
site plan
To send it to Plan Commission.
to the planning commission.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to send this conceptual site plan and building plans for Prairie Wind Townhomes on East Imperial Drive to the Plan Commission for further review beyond just concept. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for putting, yeah, the stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
She sold my dad's house, Washington Boulevard, in Milwaukee.
Nice of time.
The next item we have is consideration of a motion to approve contract with Let Kids Fly for use of the soccer field at Centennial Park.
So this item went to the park board and was approved. It's a new soccer club that's looking for some space to use. And the agreement is in front of you. I wasn't sure if this always goes to the board or doesn't go to the board. The agreement that I had used, that was an older agreement, had the signature line of the village president, and so.
I think you did the right thing.
I left
think the
that on
board-
there, but if this is, if these are items you want in the village board in the future, happy to do that after the park committee takes a look at it. If it's items that something like this should just stay at the park committee, I'm happy to do that too. I was in the can't win for trying category, so I thought I'd send it to both committees.
May I ask a question?
Of course,
Or two?
absolutely. The
Okay.
floor is yours. Trustee Walschlager.
On number 4 says village agrees to cut length of 2.5 to 3.5 inches during the season. Is that standard?
That's our normal cutting.
Okay. And that we're also providing recycling and trash collection. Okay, so that's gonna be what's already there,
Correct.
okay? And then we will provide restroom maintenance and cleaning. Do we know, the two questions are, when, how many times per week and what is their start and end dates? Do we know that?
It starts in like 2 weeks and they do 2 nights a week for like 6 weeks.
For games or practice?
Little kid games.
Okay, because they said practicing and then game, okay.
Yeah, it's the long way of a soccer, I'm sorry,
Short.
the short way of a soccer, it's the little kid stuff, it's not the big soccer field.
And then on number 15, it says that they will be allowed to store hand tools and goals at the park. Where do we have space that would be stored?
There's a garage attached to the bathrooms.
That we have room for that?
Yes. We use it for winter storage of equipment, but there's a water reel in there once in a while, but other than that, we don't use it in the summer.
Traditionally, the village does allow youth organizations to store their equipment at the field. So baseball has actual boxes that are okayed, and then the HA is able to store some things and others. So they do, it's part of their rental agreement.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
So is this just gonna be a standard rental agreement that traditionally any nonprofit would use for fields?
This is our standard
Okay.
rental agreement up at Dixon. This was the the last youth soccer group is what this was taken from. So we have a different one for the football field.
I am not sure if we've ever, this would be my first one of seeing a youth organization where we would okay that. Traditionally, I know in a different hat for youth organization, all this stuff goes to the park board.
Right.
So I'm up for whatever. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what we're looking for in a motion. If the motion should say to send it to the park board and let the park board do it, or if the motion.
Park board already looked at it and approved it and sent it on the.
Okay.
And sent it on the house.
So,
Totally up to you guys. I mean, if, happy to do it, happy to leave it at park, but, I mean,
I'm gonna throw this in here for the board, because I think that's a really good point, and I think for everybody, in the future, when it's coming, plan commission's a little different, because there's two people from the board. Always the village president is on, and always a trustee is on. But in the future, I think it's gonna be appropriate, and I also will reach out to either the commissioners or presidents of those boards to say, when something comes forward, you gotta just take time to put an email together, so that it's them saying, hey, this was approved or not approved, otherwise we're kind of guessing. That's a good point. But maybe that'd be helpful for the board, or maybe we can do even more, but it sounds like that'd be helpful to everybody and have it right in the packet.
Which I think is a good idea to do that, but even a little bit of substance in there, you know, if there's something that's a little controversial or
Well,
whatever.
no, you're on the park board, so you can advise us as well.
No, I understand it, but
Okay.
I'm saying just in general that sometimes, you know, we're reading this for the first time and we're approving it, we don't know some of the substance in it. It might be nice to get a little cliff notes or something from their meetings, so we kind of a heads up of what's going on.
Right.
well, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Let Kids Fly for use of the soccer field at Centennial Park.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that motion to allow Let Kids Fly.
Fly.
let's get some.
Let them fly.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Announcements.
You had to add the pun.
I didn't, it just happened.
It made sense. It was a
accidental.
good place.
Well, for announcements, I will be sending an email to the presidents and commissioners of those boards. I asked Administrator Rhodey to do the same, letting them know in the future when something like this comes up, just so that we can kind of have them, so that it can be in the packet. You know, it helps us. And if there's any extra substance, then they can add that. It's helpful. So if you could send that out, I will also send that out. I don't have any other announcements at this time.
Floor is yours.
Mr. Faulkner.
I just want to give you a couple updates on, we have two utility projects going on. We have one in the industrial park on Industrial and Progress Drive. That's a storm water project, a reditching, and we're trying to get the water off the roads and get it into the marsh where it belongs. We're 30% into that project, and their restoration company is following up right behind them as we speak. Then we have the Sunny Slope project. That, if you recall, we replaced the water main, the sanitary, and the storm sewer from Raid Drive all the way up to Merton Avenue. There's light at the end of the tunnel, trust me. The water is pretty much done. All we're doing is hooking up laterals. Sanitary sewers all complete except for adjusting manholes. And the same with the storm sewer. We have to adjust manholes right before they grade and pave. So they're figuring with the laterals, because they have some big ones, we have to coordinate with Sendix, the two restaurants in that mall. And then we also have another tricky one is the orthodontist. So we have to kind of cater to them. We got to figure out when they can utilize their building without water for 3 hours. So we're working through that, and they figure in 3 to 4 weeks that thing will be complete. So I just thought I'd give you an update on the two utility projects going on.
Sure.
They've been busy. They also have the signs went up, the parking signs are being put up. There's some more crosswalk signs, and the parking lot's going.
They are.
My observing them riding around the village.
Your drive is almost done.
I'd like to give you an update on our paving projects. Surrey, Chisholm, and Cameron. The fly ash was removed, the undercut was performed, and the final lift of asphalt was put on today. The only thing left is restoration where they did curb work, and around the tower driveway, which has also now been fully paved. We expect it to be done in about 2 weeks. The slurry seal in Mill Place has been completed and striped, and the project went very well. We were impressed with Struck and Irwin. They did a great job of communicating with us and the public. So that project is also done.
Not to interrupt Mr. G here, but I will interrupt him. Strongly encourage everybody to swing over. It's just a subdivision, kind of kitty corner from the park on the other side of the railroad tracks. Please take a look at it. It's a new product for the village. It's not a new product in the region. So take a look at it. It turned out better than what we thought. It's got some thickness to it that we didn't think would be there. So definitely check it out. That's something new. That's an option for us moving forward. But if you haven't had a chance to drive through, or if you know anybody in that subdivision, now's the time to get good feedback because it's fresh in, everybody's mind, so.
And finally, the parking lot off of North Avenue has been a challenge, and we knew it would be. You saw the letter that I forwarded from Peter about the over-excavation that we had to do, and the geogrid that we had to install that added another $62,000. We were hoping not to have to do that to the western third of the parking lot, and when they started excavating that, they called me up there, and it's actually worse than it was on the eastern half. So we will incur another $8,000 to over-excavate that and put geogrid there. But I felt it appropriate because this board made it very clear that they wanted our projects to last the full life of the asphalt, and in future repavings to not have to deal with these issues. So that's why we move forward with doing that. We Energies is coming in tomorrow to relay the conduit for the new lighting that's going in the islands. And the undercut is almost complete. We only have behind the veterinarian, and then it'll start getting shaped for final paving. Any questions?
Probably another full week yet on the parking lot?
Yes, a week to week and a half. But we did change the process that we had originally planned to do, which was to mill the asphalt in. Because of what we found, when we took the islands out, they tore it up with a loader and loaded it into trucks and hauled it out, and that cost was a wash. But it made it easier then to do the undercutting. In some cases, we undercut 22 inches, and then they put about 15 inches to 18 inches of 3-inch stone, and then they topped it with a few inches of 1 1/4 inch, so you can grade it, and there'll be 3.5 or 4 inches of asphalt. And I did take pictures of that bad material. If anyone's interested, I can email them to the board.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll send it to everyone.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, I did have a question, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Not on the parking lot,
okay.
on the slurry. I know that that's something new that we used in the village, and I know that there was even almost a holding breath on if that was gonna be okay. It's my understanding that so far in the village, there has not been a flood. We were worried even about, stuff that can get kicked up on cars. In dealing with this, in looking forward, is this something that you would continue to consider as a cost-saving measure and to have good roads within the village, considering it's 1/10 the price when we budgeted it as?
Now, it's important to note that this is a tool, and the road has to be in a certain condition to make sense to use this. If it's too far deteriorated, we'd be wasting our money.
Right.
But yes, it's absolutely a tool that we can consider using when the conditions are appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah, we had no tracking. We had no loose material because it's almost like a very coarse sand. And it gets put in the emulsion as it comes off the truck. So it's fully coated and they spread it out. And once it's dry, it's a monolithic layer.
Yep.
And we had absolutely no complaints after the fact.
Yep.
We did send a letter the beginning of the week notifying people of the process so that they were aware of it. In fact, all the calls I got were about timing and where to park. They
Yeah.
didn't have anything to do with the actual product.
Right.
So I felt it went extremely well.
And I'm happy to hear that. I just wanted to know because I know there was a lot of, we were just kind of holding our breath. You know that we talked through it. We were going to try it.
I
and it was like,
experienced the first go-around, yes, sir.
you know, so awesome.
No,
Good.
we're happy with it, and the company.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mike, that there wasn't any tracking.
Well, they put it down.
It's 90 degrees today.
Yeah.
And there was still no tracking.
No tracking, and it was hot.
Yep. They did keep people off it for 6 hours. That's critical. You have to let it fully set before you drive on it. You know, but if you do that, it worked well.
At 1/10 the price.
Little bit of turn, you can see a little bit of tire,
On these hot days, when you turn, there's a little scuffing,
yeah, you can see
but
a little bit
it
of
was
that. that's it.
95 today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If it can hold up in this, it'll hold up in anything.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
That was you.
Chief?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I obviously missed the last meeting and was on vacation. And just to let everybody know, while I was on vacation, our first 4 days, the fire department ran 39 calls in 4 days. And we had to give one of those calls up because we didn't have enough personnel. So just to let you know how proud I am of my whole group of people. 39 calls in 4 days, crazy. I was told twice I was never allowed to go on vacation again. So. We do have our burn coming up on September 12th, so if any board member is interested in stopping out there, once we get a little further into the planning part, I'll let everybody know what's going on, but we'd love to have you out and show you what we do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's gonna be, we're gonna start 7 a.m. on the 12th.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Any trustees, staff with announcements? Hit
Then
it.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded and thirded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. This meeting's adjourned.